And still on the issue of rights, here in the United States, across the country, Monday, Americans observed the annual federal holiday marking the birthday of slain civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. A major factor in the fight against racial discrimination in the 1960s was the strategy for protesting for equal rights without using violence. Now, King championed this as an alternative to armed uprisings. VOA's Chris Simkins tells us more.
Reverend Martin Luther King's nonviolent movement was inspired by the teachings of Indian leader Mahatma Gandhi. Throughout the South, King put the spotlight on prejudice.
Mississippi is a state that has consistently resisted any move to rid itself of racism.
Led by King, millions of blacks took to the streets for peaceful protest, as well as civil disobedience actions and economic boycotts.
You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
The nonviolent movement was tested in places like Birmingham, Alabama. William Bell is the city's current mayor.
During that period of time, you had people who were being murdered, homes being bombed, churches being bombed, and there was a sense that nothing would ever change here in Birmingham or the South. There was a sense that evil would prevail.
In 1965, a march for voting rights in Selma, Alabama went down in history as Bloody Sunday. Congressman John Lewis led the march.
They came toward us, beating us with nightsticks, trampling us with horses, releasing the tear gas. I was hit in the head by a state trooper with a nightstick. I had a concussion at the bridge. I thought I was going to die.
Andrew Young, one of King's closest aides, called for calm against a backdrop of outrage.
And if we had started guerrilla warfare in America's cities, if we had given in to terrorism, we could not have won, but America could not have survived.
In Birmingham, images of police using attack dogs and fire hoses to disperse protesting school children were broadcast around the world. Attorney Richard Cohen on the impact of those pictures.
The violence was being perpetrated by the oppressors, not the oppressed, and that was an incredibly powerful message, an incredibly important tool during the movement.
In August 1963, thousands of African Americans and whites gathered for the March on Washington. It was peaceful, with no arrests. Just weeks after the March on Washington, tragedy struck in Birmingham after a bomb exploded beneath the 16th Street Baptist Church during Sunday school classes. 4 young girls were killed and 23 others injured. It was an awful blow for Dr. King and the civil rights movement. Shirley Gavin Floyd, a friend of one of the victims, was traumatized by the hate killings.
I was scared to look at a white person. I was scared to go anywhere I thought a white person was, because I really believed that that could easily happen to me.
Many blacks wanted to retaliate, among them Congressman Bobby Rush, who in the 1960s was a member of the militant group known as the Black Panthers.
I was not a supporter of Dr. King. I thought that Dr. King was too milquetoast, too passive, and I didn't understand the power of nonviolence. And so I didn't adhere to his philosophy and turn the other cheek.
Ben Jealous, president of the nation's oldest civil rights organization, says the nonviolent campaign won American hearts and minds.
The movement was moving towards a crescendo that we would see in 64 and 65 when landmark civil rights legislation was passed.
Historians say despite the setbacks, the nonviolent movement spurred lasting results towards providing equal rights and freedom for all Americans. Chris Simkins, VOA News, Montgomery, Alabama.
Now, if he had lived, Martin Luther King would have been 85 years old this month.